Assalamu alaikum. I'm Ritsu Nacken and you're watching Talk Maldives. In tonight's program, we'll focus mainly on issues related to population and efforts made by UNFPA to resolve these issues. To elaborate more on this issue, I have with me UNDP Country Director, Mr. Ritsu Nacken. Thank you, Madam, for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Recently, we observed world population on 11th of July, and the theme for this year is family planning, empowering people and developing nations. So in this program, we'll mainly talk about population issues and other stuffs. So I'm very delighted to have you here in this special occasion. My very first question is why UNFPA stressing the urgent needs for investments in family planning, maternal and newborn health countries, especially developing countries like Maldives?
Yes, we really advocate for the family planning because, first of all, it saves lives. When a woman have access to family planning services, they are unlikely have a very complicated pregnancy, and if they have a good access to maternal health services, they will deliver a baby safely. So it's the whole point is that we want to save lives and prevent preventable death. But family planning actually has a much larger implications, such as the larger population dynamics related issues. This means that by making sure that every citizen have access to family planning services, you can have better plan for national development. So that's the whole concept about this year's World Population Day, which is empowering people and developing nations. Family planning even provides an opportunity for women to address the issue of domestic violence or intimate partner violence, because it actually provides the entry point for women to talk about the domestic violence or intimate partner violence related issues. So family planning has a lot of benefits, socially, economically, for the nation's development, as well as people's empowerment and human rights.
What are the main challenges that remains regarding unmet need for contraception, as well as leg investment in maternal and newborn health care?
Maldives, as you must know, have a very good track record in terms of the health sector and also education sector. However, that there are remaining issues related to family planning and reproductive health. For example, young people's access to sexual reproductive health is an issue. Family planning services available for married couple only, but I'm sure that you'd agree that young people also need to know about their body and their sexual reproductive health. So that's one big gap that not only Maldives actually, but many countries in the world has.
What is the economic benefit of family planning, especially the important of women and girls in particular to choose when or if you get married, and or how many children to have and when he or she can have?
Mm-hmm. So when a woman is able to decide if they want to have a child, how many and in what timing, it means that they can have a more control not only over their body but over their life. So they can decide according to their life plan, their career plan, if they want to have a child, how many they can have a child, or when they want to have a child, spacing of the children. So it really provides a lot of opportunity for women to select their careers or build a career, and that has economic implication. In fact, the recent research shows that if the government invests in family planning $1, the return of investment would be $2.3, meaning that family planning investment will reduce the incidence of unplanned pregnancy and the cost of pregnancy care by $2.3. So it's an investment that makes sense.
What have been the success of the Maldives in these areas like family planning, investment in maternal and newborn health care?
Maldives has been, as I mentioned earlier, that made a great achievement, and a married couple can have a free contraceptives, and they have a good access to the sexual reproductive health services. So it's been a really great achievement. However, that as I mentioned, the young people still have access issues, and also the quality of care. The truly youth-friendly services is still limited. So those are the challenges we have. And in some of the remote atolls, I have been to Edafushi before. Those atolls, of course, face some limitations too, despite the government's efforts. So the issue is really making sure that every citizen has the same kind of quality care in Maldives.
When you say, you meant to say it's limit, can you elaborate more on that?
For example, in Edafushi, I saw that the youth-friendly clinic, which was very well organized. I mean, the infrastructure is there. The clinic is beautiful, and the corner is nicely decorated with the pictures everywhere. But there was no youth who was using the services. So it shows that we need more awareness raising, and also addressing the issues of privacy too. In a small community, of course, the issue is always around privacy, and somehow we need to find a way to make sure that young people feel confident and comfortable to seek services. So the service demand side of the challenges still exist.
When I see the latest census report conducted in the year 2014, 38% of the population is youth.
Mm-hmm.
So when we focus on the theme of this year, it says the family planning for the development. So how important is family planning, and what's your message to the youth of the country?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you made a really important point that Maldives is in this so-called demographic dividend period, where you have a large cohort of young people. And this is a great opportunity for the country to invest in the health of young people. And when you talk about health of young people, it's normally not really about disease. They are usually more or less healthy, but they really need the knowledge and understanding of their sexual and reproductive health. So it's really important that the education sector also integrate the sexual reproductive health information in the curriculum. Of course, age and culturally appropriate, but nevertheless they need to know about their body and how they can have a healthy relationship. It also helps if they decide to have a partner, to have a non-violent, very mutually respective relationships with each other.
Before you mentioned that family planning and investments in maternal and newborn healthcare, we also have challenges. What are the challenges you find in these areas, as well as women and girls empowerment?
Yes, I already mentioned the issue of youth and youth empowerment. Related to that, I think it's a very important point that we should also invest in the prevention of intimate partner violence. So this includes also the dating violence and so on. I heard that Maldivians women marry around age 20, and around that age group, the divorce rate is extremely high, around almost 40%. So I think it is important that together with the reproductive health understanding, you also understand in the sexuality education curriculum normally, learning the life skills, how you have a healthy, nonviolent relationship, respectful relationships, that helps also couples to have a planning the child and having a child, and also having the healthy relationship with each other.
the world, is everybody knows, is committed, in achieving the sustainable development goals, as with the Maldives. But can we truly achieve the SDGs without universal access to family planning and sexual reproductive health, and also maternal and newborn health?
The answer is no, because as I mentioned, that family planning is really critical, not only for individual rights, but also for the development of country. So by addressing family planning and sexual reproductive health, you are addressing multiple goals, including the goal on the poverty reduction, on the gender equality, on the health. So it is really linked to many goals, this family planning and sexual reproductive health issues. So I would say that it is really critical that prioritizing sexual reproductive health related issues to achieve the sustainable development goals.
Okay. What commitments do the Maldives government and partners need to make to ensure our country achieve the SDGs, including family planning, SRH, gender equality, and youth inclusion?
So the Maldivian government was already committing to the sustainable development goals. And also in their health master plan, they already have a strategy to address adolescent sexual reproductive health and sexual reproductive health in general. So it is not so much about making new commitments, but making sure that commitments are followed through and plans and strategies are implemented. I think there are many creative ways to make sure this implementation happens. And earlier today I met with the health minister and we were discussing a possibility of, for example, further develop the premarital counseling, which I understand is not fully integrating the sexual reproductive health issues. So that's one interesting entry point we could explore. But as a UNFPA, we have a global experience and expertise, so we could help the government of Maldives to really find a way to address this issue through innovative and data-driven, data and evidence-driven initiatives. That's one way to help the government of the Maldives and people of the Maldives.
Maldives sees UN as a very great development partner, and then UNFPA here, a branch of UN helping over here in the Maldives. What are the areas UNFPA can help us, the relative institutions, to succeed, or what you meant in your previous answers?
So our current focus is very much on young people and young people's health and reproductive health. So that's one very critical area. But we look at this issue as a more holistic perspective. And we believe that working with the various line ministries and working with the NGO partners, we could really convene the forum to discuss ways to address this issue. For example, for the World Population Day, we are organizing together with our partners the youth-led dialogue. It's one way to really create a space to really explore ways to address this culturally sensitive issue in any country. And we want to make sure that this will not be forgotten issue in the national development process.
I'm aware that UNFPA help in various projects in Maldives. Currently, what are the projects you are funded and how do it convenes?
We wouldn't say that we have projects per se, because our approach is really about the policy advocacy. So we work very closely with our partners, including the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, and we would like to help them to have evidence-based policies and help their implementation process so that the government can meet the commitment they made. And we also want to make sure that there is an inclusive forum where the voice of people will be integrated in the policies. So that's the approach we have right now.
Previously, you mentioned about the curriculum. Recently, we started, adopted a new curriculum. UNFPA also is helping on it. How you see the new curriculum? Will it be helpful, as you say, to portray a better life for the upcoming generation of all this?
I think there has been a great shift or improvement in the curriculum, and we are really helping the Ministry of Education through our initiative to meet the international standards for the sexuality education or life skill education. And there were some recommendation coming through the dialogue we are having with the different stakeholders. So this is a process, a long process, and we want to continue to provide our expertise and advice from based on the international experience. So Maldives, I think, really demonstrated their commitment to go through the curriculum based on the international standards.
UNFPA is also working very closely with National Bureau of Statistics. Now, NBS has come up with a lot of research, especially when I see the census lately conducted census. I'm sure you have gone through that, a lot of changes when we compare to the last census. So how you see that census report? What are the main areas UNFPA can help to overcome it?
Yes, it's a very important area for us, the data and the statistics, and particularly in the middle-income country context, where you have relatively good health-related indicators, the data and evidence part of our work becomes even more important. And we are helping right now the population projection for the country. That's one area that we want to know how the population will increase or decrease or maintain in the Maldives, as well as the labor force survey. Together with the International Labour Organization, we are helping the DCS to do the labor force survey, particularly because Maldives have a lot of migrant workers. We want to make sure that we have an accurate picture about the labor market and labor force. So that's another sort of initiative we are working on right now.
What are the main issues you find, I mean to say population-related issues you found in Maldives, and the challenges you may see?
So the biggest feature of Maldivian population nowadays is the youth. And this is why our current program really focuses on youth, the big proportion of youth. But also the migration is a big issue. The plan to have majority of population in Mare and Fully-Mare areas. This is a sort of very big initiative for the government. So we'd like to help the process to be very inclusive, equitable, and make sure that there's a sustainable plan to have such transitions, which is a really huge change for the country.
I'm pretty sure you might have visited a lot of countries within this region and Southeast Asia region. How you compare Maldives and other countries within this region?
It's a very unique country. Although I worked in the Pacific, in 10 countries in the South Pacific regions, I find Maldives very special in terms of culture, in terms of sort of isolation, because Pacific, there are many island countries and they have a sort of brother, sister countries around them, but the Maldives is relatively alone in that big region in South Asia. Also, it's exposed to many big countries like India and China and Saudi Arabia. The influence is there. So I think Maldives has its own opportunities, very much in strategic location in terms of access to European market and Southeast Asia, East Asia market. as well as challenges. The climate change is a big issue. So it's a fascinating, really interesting country to serve for. So it's really exciting opportunity for me.
In terms of population-related issues, how you compare?
This huge youth bulge or the cohort of young people is very special because this region overall is getting more and more old, and aging is a big issue in Japan, my home country, as well as Vietnam, my previous duty station. So many countries are now discussing how we can cope with the aging population. But here I feel much more sort of how do you call it, positive about this huge bulge, huge cohort of young people. And that's really future of Maldives. And this is the time that we invest in young people and they have a good life and productive life so that the country can gain even more strength from the young people. And I strongly believe that when the young leaders can voice their opinions and can contribute better for the country itself will further develop and become more prosperous.
Before I conclude the program, I just want to give you a opportunity to say a few words to the youth or the countries or the people of the Maldives and the relative authorities of the country.
So United Nations Population Fund really works hard to deliver the world where every pregnancy is wanted, every childbirth is safe, and every young person's potential is fulfilled. So we would like to really help the country to achieve this goal together with us and other partners. And we look forward to working with all the partners for more prosperous and equitable Maldives.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
Hope
you
to
so
see you
much.
soon.
Thank you.
With that, we conclude the program for tonight. Until next week, goodbye.